Hey everybody, welcome again to another week, another night. Sorry, I just woke up trying to pull the old thoughts together. Skookum session, round table, volume, volume, episode 6, season 2. Jeremiah Fountain, as usual, we have some very interesting gentlemen. We have, for one, Mr. Gary Spikes Jr. Gary, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. You're lucky.
How's life?
Real good. I'm celebrating my anniversary today.
I know. Congratulations. It's a wonderful thing, man.
It sure is. I got a wonderful woman.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Along with Gary, we have Mr. the one and only, of course, Mr. John Schweitzer.
Hey,
John,
yeah,
how goes the battle?
I'm alive. I'm doing well. Probably better than I should be.
Yeah.
No problems, no
Good,
complaints.
good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Last but certainly not least, my good friend, Mr. Travis Bowen. Travis, what's happening?
Just another day in paradise.
That's right, man. Well put. I love the way you put that. I do. And JR will be joining us at some point here. I just got a text from him. I told him we were starting, but he said, okay, just give me a few. But you never know with JR. A few could mean half an hour. So I told him we were going to get started without him. And he assured me he'd be on. So anyway, so Gary and I were coming up with the idea today and thinking of kind of a topic we could roll into tonight. And just the four of us. So I think, yeah, well, with JR, it'll be 5. And, I think we can have a pretty interesting discussion. Yeah. Interesting discussion about this. I know there's a big debate in this field, the Bigfoot field, about how many different types of these things there are out there. I know the original consensus among many groups is that there is 4. My personal opinion is, I know a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around the fact that there's just one of these things walking around, let alone 4 or more. But I guess, I can come back to this later, our different reasonings being why we believe what we believe. But, I believe within no matter how many of these different types of things there are, I'd be pretty confident in saying there's subspecies within those species.
Oh, yeah.
So Gary, with you being the first one to open the mouth, I will let you go from there. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, biologically, you look at any species on the planet of any animal, any genus of any animal, there are species and subspecies. And even
That's
in
right.
species, there are variances in color, size, shape. We would be awful arrogant to think that there was just a certain amount. It's just like our conversation earlier when we was discussing the one that I showed you that I thought was closer to
Yes.
the one that I seen, and then the one that you seen was a total different variance.
Totally different. Yep.
Yeah. And I just I would, in my own personal opinion, I think that geography, genetics, you're going to have a different variances down here in Oklahoma than you would in the Pacific Northwest.
Sure.
You have different variances in here than you would. I would honestly think that up there in your country and in upstate New York that they'd be closer to the was in the Pacific Northwest because of the topographical and geological areas are similar.
Yep.
Down here they don't have to be that big. Well, look at bears. You don't have big grizzly bears down here in Oklahoma. You
Right.
got black bears, but
Yeah.
why would this thing is a natural being? Why would there not be more variances of it? Just like any other animal on the planet.
No brainer to me, really. Really is. John, what are your thoughts?
Wow.
You can keep
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I kind of feel the way Gary does. With that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that human beings are kind of arrogant, and we think, well, hey, these are supposed to be so human-like.
Uh,
Why don't we see more of them? Yada, yada, yada. I believe it's got to do with location,
mm-hmm.
geographical. Uh, I think the people, I don't know, the ones that are like right on the cusp of things, you know. They want to think, oh, I mean, God, I don't know how to put it in words. I
You
really,
can say
honestly,
it. I know you're
God,
trying to find a nice way to say it. Just say
yeah, all right. You know, it's like, yeah, there's probably four. There's probably four, and yeah, you got subspecies, and yeah, you got subspecies and subspecies, and yada yada yada. And you have some. If they're going to be so human-like, you have some of them that I'll be so arrogant to say it. You know, it's like I work with the mentally handicapped.
it. Right.
All right. They look different in many cases. Some of it's very subtle, some of it's not.
Right.
Now, if these are supposed to be so human-like, then what's the possibilities of them suffering from some of the same things, especially
Agreed.
interbreeding?
Agreed.
All right. And so you're going to get a different look. You're going to get a different look. It happens in human beings, but if there's not that many of these, as we say, and they are animal, and the more of them that we get, the more I believe that they've got to be an animal. You know, it's like, my God, there's 30 different species according to a lot of people. Well, it's like I said earlier, it's like dogs. Look at how many species of dogs there are. Of course, that's man's intervention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of,
Well, you know, even within.
I'm still trying to find the one.
Yeah. No, I get it, and even even within the take one subspecies for example, you just brought up a good point. Even within one, no matter how many of the, I personally believe there's more than four. Personally, that's just my personal opinion on what I've heard from different people, from native people, and so on and so forth. But even within take one group, for example, one species of these things, you're not going to get the same look out of every individual.
No, just like humans. Look at how.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
we got some people. I mean, it's what draws us guys. What draws guys to females? Appearance. All right.
With that and pheromones.
Yeah. Some of them, their appearance is better than others. And like with guys, some of us, our appearance is better than others.
Look right here at the four of us. We got you three ugly bastards, and then my sexy butt.
I don't know what camera you're looking at through life and rose-colored glasses, but I wish you would quit standing on your head and turn over so we could really see what you look like.
Well, I hate to admit it, but all I've heard, about the group here, the one that we haven't heard from yet is the stud of the group. So why don't we get to him real quick, Travis?
Yeah, what would you like to hear? No.
What would you like to add to this?
Well,
I knew that was going to laugh at him.
There you go.
Put me on to talk serious after that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know any more than anybody else does, but I'll agree that, especially worldwide, I mean, just North American continent alone, the sightings do vary greatly as far as appearance. Some of that, of course, can be wrote off just the witness themselves, because anybody that's been up close to one and actually seen one, it's not a very easy experience, or details tend to be skewed. But some of the descriptions, I mean, it has to be at least different races, breeds, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you take people just simple. I mean, like today at work, you put all us in a room and every one of us is a different size, shape, height, look, hair color, eye color, mannerism, the way we talk, move,
Skin
everything.
color. Skin color too.
Yeah, and that's just a small group of us at work. I mean, so then, I mean, you can take like white-tailed deer. You go down to Florida, white-tailed deer, I mean, they're itty-bitty. They're like the size of a goat. I mean, really small, light frame. Here, they range from medium to some big ones, and then get on up like where you are, Jeremiah. I mean, it ain't nothing to beat, 250, 300-pound deer.
Oh, yeah. 250 dress, 300 pounds. Oh, yeah.
And that's climate.
Yep.
And we don't know anything about these things evolutionary
background.
I mean, we don't really know where they come from. how many different species might have been. I mean, even with human beings, just based on anthropology, I mean, how many other races of humans could have still been existing if we really hadn't dominated the planet? Because
Well,
I think we did, just culturally and technologically. I mean, they've proven that Neanderthal DNA is in a good number of the population of living humans now.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So there are so
And
many variables that come into play, but I have no
absolutely.
doubt that there's different, like say, species, breeds, races, whatever. I don't know how they would be classified,
but there's different. There's different ones. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Agreed. Agreed. You
Yeah.
know, and you brought up a good point, Travis. You know, as far as I was watching something. I think it might have been National Geographic or reading. I was reading it. May have been reading it. My memory shot, but at one different time on Earth, there was 13. They believe at least 13 different species of upright walking hominids. Wow, we were here as well
At one time.
at one time, and that's just a guesstimate. That's a low end guesstimate.
That's based on I know I actually watched the same program.
Okay, yep.
That's based on just what they have found in the fossil record that's been dated to the time.
That's right.
So, I mean, who knows how many more may have been there that haven't been discovered.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you say that, you know, I'm not myself. I'm not an evolutionist. All right.
Okay.
I don't believe in evolution. I believe in adaptation. All right. There's a difference. Or evolution within kind.
Okay, for those, John, that don't really get what you're saying out there that are listening, you wanna break that down a little?
Or we'll say like evolution within kind. All right. Let's say you've got birds that are a bird is introduced. A couple of birds are introduced to an island. All right. Now they have got to survive on what that island has. Feed them.
Yep.
Let's suppose, hypothetically, that there's a particular kind of nut that they like to eat, or they would sustain them. Maybe that nut is hard to get into, but over a period of time, they may end up growing a type of a bill, or the nutrients from that nut makes their bill harder.
Yes.
And that in turn, maybe it makes that bill a little bit longer and hooked over on the end so they can get into that nut. That's what I mean about evolution within kind.
That's Darwin's theory of evolution, a monkey with a long tail.
Yeah, but I don't believe we come from us, who we are. I don't believe that we came from monkeys, not adaptation. Now, where did that start? If it was that way, you'd see half monkeys and half human beings walking out of the frickin'. Don't tell me Bigfoot now. Okay. Don't tell me that. But that's what I mean of evolution within kind.
Okay.
Maybe frogs catching a particular kind of bug.
Right.
They have to evolve in such a way to be able to catch that particular kind of bug.
Sure.
And that bug gives them the nutrients. And, you know, it's kind of like if you had tribes of human beings and you had, I've said this before, you had like a tribe of redheads, a tribe of brunettes, and a tribe of blondes. All right.
Yep.
Let's say the blondes don't see well, but they run fine. Let's say that the redheads don't hear well, but they see well and they run fine. And you got the brunettes that hear okay and they see okay, and they're kind of slow. Okay. Now you start interbreeding these together, these tribes, and you're going to come out with a mixture of the color of hair, right? If it's real and basic, and you're going to come out with a tribe that can see well, can hear well, and can run pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it's all worked in together, and it takes a long period of time. There's going to be people who go, oh, that old man is crazier than a loon and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to mine, and you're entitled to yours, jerk.
I can back you up on that, actually, John.
Yep.
I watched a real good show one night.
Yeah.
And this was in the U.S. I can't remember who did the study, but they took like, say, 30 guys and 30 women, and they did a whole lot of blood work and testing on them, testing their immune systems, IQs, various things that would help you basically survive in the natural world. Then what they did, they took these 30 guys and let them go play basketball for a couple hours and get all sweaty and nasty. And then they took all of their jerseys, put each one in the individual sealed bags. Then they took a control group of women and let them smell the shirts. And some of these women liked the way some of these sweaty jerseys smelled, where others didn't. And when they went to doing the data after the fact, they found that the opposing women and men's traits were attracted to one another to create an offspring that got the best of both. Basically.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is evolution within kind. That's okay. Adaptation is when you get on an island and you have to adapt to what is there.
Yeah.
And you will either adapt or you will lose. And it's the same.
And the species that specializes in something like that will live a great life until their ecosystem is destroyed by whatever it may be.
Yeah, or taxes.
Or taxes, exactly.
Yeah. Somebody somewhere in that group is going to want more because they don't fit in with the rest of them, so they're going to try and elevate
right
to be president or some such crap.
Well, there's going to be a bird with a shorter beak that needs the other birds with the longer beaks to help them out, just to get through life.
Oh yeah. They'll certainly try and utilize that longer beak the best they can. Oh yeah.
We still on
We've got to ban that bird with longer beak because he's dangerous and he can stand off farther and beak us and so forth. yeah. But that's what I feel. I mean, and here's something. I was talking to Will Jevning.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember the name of the gentleman. If Will's listening, he'll go, oh yeah, that's blah, 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 blah. The thing about body, okay, size, the colder of a climate, the larger the body of an animal.
Yeah.
So your deer down in Florida are like goats. The one up here, it's common to like a deer to take 175 pound, 185 pound. Of course, that's not field dressed. That's
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've done that. Meat's meat. You got to have it.
That's interesting too, because never mind, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Let me write this down.
I will.
I want to say
that too. I do agree. It's very real and it's very true. The only variable to that is human intervention.
Yes.
Because some of the biggest black bears ever killed on Earth have been killed right here in Southern Virginia and Eastern North Carolina.
Yep.
Go back in history and look at it. They were recorded. I mean, they was state history books. They'll mention it.
They do. Yeah. They've actually started to. When I was down there, living down there, Travis, you and I got talking about this one night. They started to actually classify they're calling it the Eastern North Carolina black, the coastal North Carolina black bear.
Yeah.
Starting to actually categorize it into its own subspecies, because guy shot one 2 years ago. It was 800 and God, Travis, help me out. What was it, 880 or 840? Something like that.
For some reason, 882 is stuck in my head, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. And this thing was just gargantuan. But every year, 600-700 pounders is not uncommon.
And what it was, that bear was actually living right beside a hog farm and was eating dead hogs out of the lagoons. So he had an endless supply of fat and protein. That's why he got so big.
Once again, that doesn't fall on evolution. That falls upon adaptation.
Yeah.
John's talking.
But then once they Now let's say, well, let me ask you a question though. Once that you get a big bear like that, that's like you just said, that adaptation, Gary, gets to that particular size, then start spreading those genes, you're going to start popping out bigger bears, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the way that is explained to me by a biologist.
Yeah.
I'll know him.
Yeah.
Had a discussion on one of my shows, Dan the Drill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Adaptation is a single or 2 or 3 generational characteristic
Okay.
change in a species, where evolution is a multi-gap.
Yeah.
So almost your adaptation is the preliminary to evolution. It would be like the stimulus that starts the road. If that's just was a theory, that we discussed, but I'm a lot like John, that I don't believe so much in evolution as much as I do the adaptation program.
Yeah, those black bears will remain as black bears. They won't grow into a saber-toothed tiger.
No, of course not.
Yeah, they'll remain as black bears. So there's evolution within kind, and it's only
like with the grizzly and the coastal grizzly.
Yeah, it's only a term.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a
right.
term, and it's used so many times wrong.
Now let me ask you a question though, and this I really don't know, so I'm going to ask it. Now, you take the DNA of say a grizzly from Montana, okay, and then you take the DNA off coastal grizzly, say off Prince of Wales Island or wherever, somewhere out there. Is it going to be different?
I think that they're still going to have a certain amount. I mean, my wife knows
gonna
about
be
this
very
stuff.
Similar, if not,
Yeah. My wife knows about this in her studies at college.
That's right. I'd like to have Israel here. He'd know the answer to that as well.
Yeah, she would probably say that yes, they have a certain amount of genetic similarity, just like
for sure.
we do with chimpanzees, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's what I was just fixing to say, John. Yeah, look it up. We have the whole 99.5 DNA with the chimpanzee, but look at the variants.
I think if you looked it up, you'd find out that we've got a very high rating with bears as well.
Yeah, well,
and we would. I don't know. I'm just saying that
you gotta take into consideration intermingling with bears, because I mean,
look at
bear species in North America that, as far as we know, is extinct. Some people claim to have seen them, but the what they call it, short-faced bear, the cave bear,
short-nosed bear, short-nosed bear.
Right.
There's, I mean, they're pretty. I mean, that's probably where your grizzly bear species, at least at some point, was connected to it a long, long time ago, before the last age.
From the cave bear.
Well, and of course, anybody that's hunted bears or knows bears knows about the famous polar bear, coastal brown bear interbreeding.
That's where I was going to say. I was going to bring that up. Yeah, and all you got to do is look at National Geographic. I mean, it's going on.
It was actually in the Himalayas in the last couple of years. This was actually looking for the Yeti. They actually found DNA of what was actually believed to be extinct species of bear.
A bear.
Yeah, they're still alive there, just very remote. So
very remote. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. With and please, no one out. Maybe I shouldn't even go here, but please, no one out there take this the wrong way. But we have different races of people that intermingle. You know what I mean? So it's going to happen, even though we're all Homo sapiens. But like with bears, Travis, like you were just saying, and John and Gary, the interbreeding between the grizzly and the polar bear, you're going to have interbreedings between different races of people.
Well, and I won't apologize for it, because it's nature.
Because it's exactly.
It's a prime example of adaptation.
Yep.
Right.
A African-American male procreates with a Caucasian female. They have a lighter skinned, or either variant you want to go with,
right,
skinned child. it
And they're human beings. We're all human beings.
Still, DNA is the same. I mean, prime example, if we're going to talk about multiple species and subspecies and subvariants of Bigfoot, look at humans. We're the most diverse on the planet.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can even look at a contemporary human being's skull from different races.
Yep.
And you can see a difference in the skull from the different races. Now, if somebody 400 years or 4,000 years from now comes back and starts digging up our skulls, my God, they had like 7 different kinds of human beings walking on the face of the earth at the same time. Now, really? I mean,
Well,
everybody needs, bleeds, and breeds the same, and I've said that a billion times, So,
and
go ahead.
As far as like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, different species, subspecies, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Us talking about like the bears, human intervention. I mean, you take like where I live, there's a lot of farming. People got chickens, got livestock gardens, there's a lot of game. This is an easy place to survive for anything that's got a little bit of intelligence.
Right.
I'll go to like far north Canada where there's hardly any people, and there's only wild game, harsh winters, long winters. I mean, just anatomically, they should be different just because of the lifestyle and how easy or hard they're having to live to survive.
Absolutely.
Prime example was Lloyd R. Pye's the documentary on the Neanderthal.
Yep.
Talking about how we, as in his theory, and this is of course his theory, we as a Homo sapien came from the African continent down in the valley where we was more omnivores, where Neanderthal was more in the Euro-Asian up in Russia and the Caucasus Mountains all the way across, and they was predominantly carnivore. Now you look at just crazy idea, John, of adaptation. You take a grown in your farm, in your hog pen, Travis, you'll know it too, hog. You release him. In 6 months, that hog will start getting a razor back across the top of his head. His tusks will start getting longer. His snout will start. They change within days because of what you were saying, the difference in diet, the difference in how they have to they get slimmer.
And they don't have a sense of humor.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. They learn real fast. Yep.
But as in the, I think it was right along the same documentary that we was talking about with where they discovered the bear, in Nepal. They are saying that the people of Tibet have more Neanderthal DNA in them than a lot of the other races.
Well, look at now. I wonder if that would have to do with their size and their build, their muscular and their bone structure. I don't know. I'm just saying. If they do, how would it affect that? How would their appearance be? I mean, we all are different, and it still gets back to the idea of Bigfoot being the same way.
Absolutely.
Well, I work with a guy, and we pick on him because he's short. I mean, this dude's probably 5'5", maybe, but his shoulders are, arms. He is short, stocky, broad, heavy. In my mind, I could see him wearing like elk hides with a club and a spear running through the snow.
And you probably wouldn't want to jack with him either.
No, you wouldn't want to just grab a hold of him, I mean, and he's built that way.
Yep.
You know, and I mean he's a white guy, American born, but it's just in his bloodline. He's built that way, short, really heavy built, strong as a bull.
Take into account though, American is a fairly new populace.
Yeah.
They say the year, one of the theories that I studied in biology class in college is they say by the year 2150.
Yep.
That there is going to be hardly any races. We're all going to be, lighter brown skinned, all about the same. But
I've heard that theory too. Yeah.
Lineage back, because you can look at look at a lot of for lack of better terms, a lot of gingers. They get a lot of their heritage from the Irish and from the Celtic. Hey, there's Sean.
Yeah, I just let him on. John, what's up, buddy?
Sorry I'm late, fellas. I was out
That's all right, man.
tonight.
Better late than never.
It's
We have Sean Wilson with everybody, the one and only. John, glad to have you, bub.
it's like
Glad
you
to-
said the other night with me, Travis.
Glad to be here.
When you asked me about what lineage I was, and I told you I was half Mongolian, and you was like, "There it is. That's where it come from." Me being short, stocky, with my
Yeah.
structure the way it is and everything. As our lineage comes down, it does become dissipated, like what John was saying, but you still hold those characteristical traits.
Yeah.
Where with the Sasquatch, I think the ones up in the Northwest, you might have different variances. You're always going to have that.
Absolutely.
Well, we're all. I mean, look at all of us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm barrel chested and broad shouldered. Weigh right at about 200 pounds now, man. But big muscles in the legs. All right,
Hmm.
that comes from running ridges, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, take that appearance and then apply it to your own. It's what we keep. It's what we keep from our lineage. That's probably the European side of my lineage,
I would think.
not the Native American. I mean, here I'm Cherokee. Now look
Yeah.
at my face, man. I mean, of course, your Eastern tribes, European. Your Western tribes, Asian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's another.
Now, there'll be people that will disagree with me on that. And that's okay, guys. It's okay.
No, I wasn't going to disagree with you on that. I was going to kind of. I don't know. Now maybe we'll save this for another show.
Oh well.
We'll save this.
Keep people in. Yeah.
Suspense. Yeah.
Suspense. Yeah, that's it.
It has to do with the whole land bridge theory with the Native Americans here.
Well, I mean,
I don't really. My personal opinion, and if you talk to Native Americans about this, they will say they didn't cross any land bridge. And as you look at archaeology over the last 30 years, they're finding Native American artifacts that date further and further and further and further and further back.
Right.
That's all I wanted to say.
The timeline don't make sense to me.
Right.
They did not come across that land bridge long enough ago to make it all the way to the tip of South America and build civilizations.
Well, the thing,
Right.
I keep hearing about this land bridge thing, but you realize at one time we were all one continent. All right,
Yeah.
the tectonic shift separated it. That doesn't mean it went pew like this.
No.
That means it happened over a period of time, and I'll bet you there were people looking across this crevice, looking at people on the other side, going, "Well, we'll build a bridge here. We can get across, and talk to you and visit." But they were probably relatives. If you look at the ground geologically, if you look at the ground in Africa, you look at the ground on our east coast.
Yep.
You look at the ground in South America on their east coast, and the ground in Africa on their west coast.
Yeah.
Those areas fit. So I'm sitting here rubbing oil into this while I'm talking to you guys.
It's okay.
Those areas fit together. Now they didn't just go boing.
No.
That period of time, and there were people on the continents each side as those things were shifting.
Sure.
People were there.
What if I told you both theories was correct?
What if what?
Both theories was correct.
Well, you'd have to. The land bridge was as it was separating too. Okay, and that stuff is still separating. It's still moving.
Sure. No, I mean, how do we,
earthquakes and so forth.
We can also, I'm veering off here a little bit, but remember a few years back, either Travis or Gary, it was one of you guys I was talking to one night. Might have been you, Sean. It was one of you guys. We were talking about the 10,000-year-old mummies they found in the Everglades. Well, when they ran DNA on them, they were of pure Western European blood. which is very interesting because at that point in time there wasn't supposed to be any Western Europeans here in that part of that part of
They weren't supposed to be in North America at all.
What's that?
I mean, the Western Europeans shouldn't have been in North America at all more than 300 or 400 years ago.
True, right,
history.
Right.
My own personal theory, I simplify this whole thing. It's real simple. Mankind has been around an extraordinarily long time, and we have risen to the zenith of civilization and fallen one or more times.
Absolutely.
And it's a repetitive process.
It is.
Here's the deal.
It is.
It has been said that there were enough human beings at one time to fill a gymnasium, and that was it. And somehow or another, we got smart all of a sudden. Now that could be evolution. It could be taken that way, but I believe that, that there were that many human beings because of something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe it was evolution that made us smart. Okay.
No.
We didn't just all of a sudden drop our tails and boom, we were human beings.
A lot of it's experience as far as intelligence.
Too much evidence. I mean, there's too many fossilized modern human footprints in stone.
Yep.
That found.
Yes.
There have been man-made tools found that have fused into the rock.
Let me throw something at you guys.
Yeah.
Native American lore talks about giants coming from the north. The Navajo.
Yeah.
Yep.
From the north. Seminole talk about red-headed giants coming from across the great ocean.
Yes.
How arrogant would we be to think that if we was sailing 300 years ago, I'm sure we sailed 3,000 to 5,000 years ago because we got proof of it in Europe. Okay, in saying that, you've got multiple cultures coming from different directions, but we literally have proven it biologically that bears and certain animals came across the land bridge on one side, and that humans didn't sail on the eastern side, didn't come across. I can drive 2 hours from my house and take pictures of what they call the ruin rock that shows pre-300 year ago, pre-Christopher Columbus carvings that are Viking.
Yeah, absolutely.
In saying that, back on the Sasquatch thing.
Yeah.
In saying that, it proves that Sasquatch could be multiple strings, multiple genetic genomes. One on the coast would have a whole different deal. The bigger ones coming across the land bridge, which would be more aggressive, be bigger framed, like the Neanderthal. Walking across, we've proven it with bear. We've proven it with moose. You look at the moose species in Alaska and the moose species in eastern Russia, in Siberia. They are very close.
Yes, they do.
This all brings all of this back too. How did the Yowie get to Australia? He didn't swim across the Pacific Ocean or hitch a ride on a canoe with an Aborigine. It
was always there. It was
exactly.
there.
Always there. And that brings
when Pangea broke apart.
How'd the Aborigines get there?
Because they were there when Pangea broke apart.
Absolutely.
When the bus left, they was on the bus.
Yep.
And the other bus left,
It just depended on which one you was riding is where you ended up.
That's absolutely that one foot.
Has anybody seen the movie Kon-Tiki?
Kon-Tiki?
Kon-Tiki. If you
No.
haven't seen, all right.
You have some?
My dad
had. I can't say that I have.
Okay, my dad had the book, and it was back. I forget when it was back in the 30s, 40s, and these fellas made a balsa raft, and I forget where they sailed from.
They sailed off the east coast of South America to Hawaii.
The west coast. They sailed off the west coast. Yeah, and they just went adrift, and they ended up in the Polynesian islands.
Yeah. They were trying to prove where the Polynesian people, how they ended up in Hawaii, which is way off out in the Pacific by itself. I read.
I forget how many days it took them, but they really didn't have. I mean, they had a radio and so forth like that if they got in trouble, but their rafts, it's good because the raft started breaking up and so forth like that. But I mean, how hard is it? That's going to sound stupid, but it's pretty basic. how hard is it to grab a hold of a log and swim across the creek, you know? And that movie is, it's not about Bigfoot.
What's it called, John? I got to write this down.
Kon-Tiki.
Kon-Tiki.
Yeah, I read
K-O-N-T-I. You'll find it.
Yeah.
I read a short story about that in high school.
Yep.
And they did everything as authentic as they could as far as natural materials.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
it was, I want to say it was something like 20-some days and nights. Man, it was almost a month, if I remember right.
They wanted it to be as authentic as they possibly could, to a point to where the raft started breaking up, and one of the fellas says, "We've got wire," and the guy took the bale of wire. He goes, "Nope, we're going to stay." And he takes this bale of wire and throws it into the ocean. Yeah, I mean, they were serious about it. So if that can happen, and you can also stay on the Pangea bus as it leaves, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Bigfoot, always, you know. Native Americans, always. It's just, you know.
Every ancient culture on Earth that has any kind of documented history has them in their history.
Absolutely.
Not as a god or a deity, but as a real living, breathing, physical creature.
Yeah.
Well, the red-headed giants that you mentioned, I forget who it was. They were put in a cave, or they were not put in a cave. They were trapped in a cave. A fire set in front of the cave by tribes of Indians. It did not. I guess the red-headed giants were like attacking them, taking the people.
That was cannibalistic, is what it was.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yeah. So they trap them in a cave. They set fire to it, burn out the oxygen. And from what I understand, you could probably still find bones, you know. And they were red-headed giants. What was a giant? That's bigger than a human.
Yes.
So what does it take for a species to be bigger? And any threat that we have as human beings, we seem to want to get rid of.
And that's what human beings do. Yeah. Anything
we kill it.
We kill.
Yeah.
You know,
we're destructive.
One fact.
Look at the troop of chimpanzees. I mean, if something comes into their territory that they feel is any kind of threat, whether it's a snake,
kill it.
predator, and I mean, it's like very decisive and quick,
and it's brutal.
Yeah,
and it's brutal. They'll even, if a female wanders into another pod's area, even with her baby, I'm sure you guys have seen this documentary. The alpha male of that one chimp group ripped her to pieces along with the baby, and then consumed her.
Yeah.
You know,
they will eat your face, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but yeah, John, I see. I'm sure you figured out where we were going with this whole thing. We started out with the different species of Sasquatch we believe are out there, and so just before we got about 15 more minutes before I got to end this particular episode, but
well, we do what we do.
Yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts, John?
Oh boy, I've had a lot of different pondering about this. The red-headed giants, I wonder if those are somehow related to Sasquatch. I've wondered about Nephilim. I've wondered if Nephilim are the red-headed giants. I'm wondering if the Sasquatch are the bastard children of the Nephilim. I don't know, man. It all kind of goes together. I believe the red-headed giant. I'm on board with it. I believe that they're legit. It happened, and of course the Sasquatch we all know is the fact.
I've been reading the same library.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
I just wonder if there's. I think that the Sasquatch are somehow related to Nephilim in one way or another, and I believe that the red-headed giants are Nephilim. But
yeah, I mean, dude,
are they still around? I don't know.
That's where you get into the Bible and start reading about.
Something got a real good.
There's something about the red hair in the Old Testament.
Let me throw something.
There is. Go ahead.
Who sets the definition of a giant? Travis said it earlier.
Who-
Anybody
who-
that's taller than you are? Okay, you know the average height of a Paleo-Neolithic human on the North American continent? You know how tall they was?
well,
About
we have,
4'2", 4'3".
yeah,
Throw something at you. We have documentable
Yeah.
evidence of Vikings on the North American continent back then.
yes, we do.
Red-headed giant could have been
A Viking.
known to be red-headed,
That's right.
and they
A lot-
have been known to be ritualistically cannibal.
Yeah,
Sasquatch. We don't know how, we know, well, I know how tall they are. We do. We've seen them, they're
sure.
5 feet tall. But, when people, they put in their head giants, they're thinking 12, 13 feet tall.
13, even taller, 30 feet, whatever. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Little
and
6
I mean,
foot, they call him a giant.
I mean, well, you know what? I make this real. This makes sense. Right up the road from me, Appomattox.
Mhm.
Yep.
That is where General Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant during the Civil War.
Yeah.
They have a battlefield. They have a great museum. In the museum, they have several original uniforms from the Civil War. General Robert E. Lee's uniform is in that museum. I am
Oh.
5'9". I weigh 180 pounds. There is no way in this world I could get into that uniform.
Absolutely.
Their
Right.
uniforms look like kids' costumes.
Well,
And this,
yeah.
this was 1865.
and
Okay.
that, and in the and in the short and in the whole spectrum of time, that is just yesterday.
Well,
Yeah.
also, but once again, it shows that adaptation in between generations. My
Yeah.
father is 5'7". His father before him is 5'7" or 5'8". On the Mongolian side, most of my lineage is 5'4", 5'5". My son
I'm-
is 5'2".
I'm 5'10". Jeremiah's seen this picture. I'm 5'10", and I'm standing back to back with my son, one of my boys.
Oh my
He's-
God.
He's 6'9".
Yeah,
Jeremiah,
he's big. He's a big boy.
You want me to?
top of my head touches his shoulder.
And he's what, John? What would he weigh?
Oh,
And he's lean too. He's not. It's not. He's lean. He's
yeah.
muscular.
Factors.
I've talked to him. Text him. The other day.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he weighs about 200 and maybe 40, 250 maybe.
If not a little more. Huh?
Factors in
Yeah,
there.
maybe he was
Protein
a size
have-
15 shoe. Oh, he'll eat anything you put in front of him. He
He's a
has
big boy.
one meal a day. It starts at 8 o'clock and it ends up at
Okay.
nine in the.
You look at the 1800s, the amount of calorie intake that they had back then.
Oh yeah.
What we do now, we as Americans eat better than anybody else on the planet.
Yes.
The average Japanese family or individual male takes in about 1,600 calories a day, and of those calories, only about 400 of them are proteins.
That's not a lot.
Proteins. Anybody that knows that does bodybuilding and stuff, Jeremiah, they put
Yep.
us on a protein diet to build us up.
Yep. Yep.
The Vikings, they predominantly lived off of fish and meats because of the area they come from.
Absolutely.
They could not raise nothing.
Yep. Meat. Yeah, like you said, fish, caribou. Stuff like
Well,
that. I mean,
there is a disease you got to remember.
Giantism. Yep.
Well, no, not
Yeah,
that. But I mean,
yeah.
you're talking cannibalistic. All right, humans eating humans.
Okay.
There is a disease, and I cannot remember what it is.
And that's caused from consuming human flesh, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
There
And
is. There is.
it'll start tremors and
Yes.
just craziness and so forth. And it's not necessarily mental, but it breaks down your
more
brain
physical.
and so forth. Yeah, it's physical.
Neurological.
You hear me?
Not like I understand what you're saying. Not a psychiatric thing, but it's neurological.
Neurological. Yeah.
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 That disease is called kuru.
Cool. What is it?
Kuru.
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 Yeah.
That sounds-
It's most widely documented in the Indonesian islands from the 1950s up until now.
Papua New Guinea.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And that's-
Body tremors, random outburst of anger.
Yep.
And that's because that's the first time they've been able to document it.
Yeah.
It goes
That's
back
right.
to that.
Further than that.
And it's like, oh, the devil's in this guy. We've got to exorcise him or something like that. I mean, that, early on,
Yeah. And even, I mean, there's even documented cases of it in, in the South American continent as well. And I hate, I do hate to say this, but even on the North American continent with some certain different, rituals,
I've been
between Native Americans, at points or another,
there's, there's a very well-known tribe and Native Americans. They don't want to admit it, but a
Yep.
tribe of Native Americans in New Mexico that was with flat out archaeological, where they was breaking human bones and sucking the marrow out of them.
Yep.
Western New Mexico,
Yep.
which is just happens to be not very far from the Lovelock Caves, which is where the red-headed giants was burned.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when I say not very far, you're talking a couple hundred miles. But
Yeah, which in that area is not that far. Yeah,
As a crow flies, yeah.
as the crow flies. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Well, no, this all does pertain to Bigfoot in a way.
It does. It does. It does.
It
It
does.
does.
It's,
Well, I'd like to pick this up next week if we could, if you guys don't mind.
just
That's
build
why
a
I gotta.
campfire.
well, before we go, I got one thing I want to show you guys.
Go ahead. You flop her right out, Gary.
We done talked about it, Mr. Sean.
Yes, sir.
Which one?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let me see here. Go ahead and put that back up. I can't see it.
Let me try doing it this way. You got me set up where I can share screen, Jeremiah?
I do. Yeah. I got you as a co-host.
Okay.
Here, I got it right here.
Far right.
Far right.
Same.
Far right.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I'd say far left. With what I
Jeremiah,
think I've seen.
Look at this,
Interesting.
Travis.
I can't comment because I've never actually seen one's face good.
I got you.
But I definitely wouldn't go with either one, the middle two at all.
No.
Right.
Those are, I mean, one looks like a baboon and one looks like just a made up
Yeah.
horror movie.
Yeah.
K9 baboon gorilla mix.
We'll just give you an idea.
The biggest difference between the one that I saw and the one on the far right is the nose. The nose one on mine was a lot bigger. And he had wrinkles across his forehead, and his cheeks were real wrinkly, and it was like dark charcoal gray skin, and it looked like gorilla skin. So that skin is too smooth, but the structure of the face is pretty close.
It's pretty close, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me because, you take Nebraska and Oklahoma, you guys really aren't that far apart, right?
And in the topographical,
No, not too far.
We're in a straight line.
Yeah, and then you take me and Switzer. I mean, in all reality, different colder climates, right? I mean, that's it. That's cool.
Which Jeremiah? Which one was it for you? The one on the left?
Same one you said.
Yeah. I mean, I only seen a quarter of their face, like
Same one.
Split down the nose, and then like that much, and then this area.
Yeah.
But I must say, the Native Americans around here do talk about something that looks like that as well.
Yep.
In a different area. But we can pick that up next week.
Yeah.
I will say this. I haven't seen one's face personally. I was about a year ago shared an extremely good photograph, a daytime photograph.
Yep.
That the one on the right, if you took that nose and made it just slightly broader and more sharper definition with more point to it, that would be it.
Like the nose on the one on the left?
No, it was it was broader, but it came to more of a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The one that I've seen had the sharper nose. It had a longer, more humanistic nose, but its nostrils was, big. With the
the other thing was the one I was shared, and I don't have it. It was just there to me. I didn't keep it because I said I wouldn't. But the eyes was solid black.
See that?
There was no pupil, no. I mean, it was just like a great white. I mean, just black. Shiny.
And that's one thing I wanted to add as well. Like, that far left is very, very close, except you'd have to widen those lips right there. Have to widen them.
Widen the lips, yeah.
Widen the lips, thin that bottom lip out a little bit, and make those eyes a little more larger, a little more circular.
Yeah.
Take a little less facial, take a little more facial hair off, and then you'd have her.
Well,
Can somebody find
it's
a
very
picture
hard.
of Scottie Pippen and put it up? Because Scottie Pippen's nose looked just like the nose on the one that I saw. And
Interesting.
it's freaking weird. Yeah. And I not trying to sound, like
No, I get you.
it looked just like Scottie Pippen on the nose.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Well, folks, I'm going to leave this one for next week to pick up too. A lot of these variances.
Yeah, leave that up for sure. Yeah, we got to pick this one up.
A lot of these variances, and I'm going to mention a question. And
Yes.
Human, Sasquatch, crossbreed.
And we'll leave her at that.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll leave her at that for tonight.
Could be.
That'll give us a good starting point for next week. I think this turned out well for the amount of time we had. So yeah, good show, gentlemen.
Cool.
Good show. But
Yeah,
guys,
sorry I was late.
yeah,
Sorry
No.
about that.
no apologies needed. No apologies needed.
Took a bad shot at a buck, and I had to go try and track it. And I should have been here a little earlier, but I wasn't, and I'm sorry. I'll try not to do it again.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, man, you was going after a deer, and especially you was doing a responsible thing by trying your best to find.
That's right. That's right. That's all that matters. But yeah, all right. Well, anyway, we will. We're gonna leave this right off from where we continued tonight. We're gonna continue this next week and make it a little more interesting. We should have JR on and Israel and then we'll have some really good stuff brought into this conversation. So, gentlemen,
Sounds
unfortunately, yeah, like I said, I got to get to another platform, but I will be talking to y'all later. Any questions out there? You guys know where to reach us. I will post all our contact info on the when Gary and I get this show posted. But anyway, gentlemen, you have a good night, and we will see you next week.
All right. Have a good night.
Good evening.
All right, guys.
Cool.
Have a good night.